Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christian with PerfectStockAlert.com, a 100% free service for smart investors and traders. All we ask in return, please refer a friend. Today is Tuesday, April the 9th, 2013. We've already been stopped out of the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P, even though it's only by a few pennies doesn't matter. It's stopped out. We're watching for a new entry opportunity. Now we're going to be looking at a couple other charts, and these are the ones that are much more bearish, and we talked about these over the past last week and even earlier this week. Longer term charts on the charts I'm going to show you today have already broken down, so now we're just looking at the shorter term and starting to get the signs and figure out where the top is going to be exactly. You can see we have this low point here taken out by this low point here. Longer term chart is already broken down the uptrend, and now we have a couple different ways of looking at this, and one of them we'll get to in a minute. But the first one that I'm watching most closely right now for the rest of this week will be this right here. You've got this first shoulder, pulls back down here to a low close. Remember to always use the closes when you're talking about comparing it to the ultimate oscillator, because the ultimate oscillator is based on the closing price of each day's price activity. So you want to compare apples to apples. And then we come up here and we get a higher close up here, and we pull back down and get a lower close here, and then we've jumped up here again. What we're starting to develop here is basically a head and shoulders formation, a top pattern. And what we expect here is to find resistance at about the previous level you saw here, about the 3260 level. So today's activity pulling back away from that intraday makes a lot of sense to us. So we're watching this, looking for, if we cannot come up here and break out to a new high in the NASDAQ, then what we're going to be seeing here is, in fact, a head and shoulders topping pattern, and it will be looking to roll over. It'll find resistance. It'll start to come back down this way, and we'll call you and let you know when that happens. The main thing here, low point here, or low close, and low close here. This forms a downtrend right here. It's also going to be what we're going to base our neckline on. Once that we have a close below that, when we come down here and we close below that, that will confirm the head and shoulders pattern. At that point, you would be able to take this high point here down to the neckline and simply do the math. Do the add and subtraction, and then you simply add that distance or subtract that distance from the close here below that neckline, and that will give you an idea of how low you expect price to fall before you get some kind of a support line in effect, and that would be this support line here. The main thing here with this one was just that as a topping signal that we're watching. The more important thing is at this point down here you may be inclined to buy, because you'll probably see a bounce there. There's a problem with that. And that problem will be that you have an even larger head and shoulders pattern forming at that point as well. You've got this first shoulder here, then you've got this formation of the head, and then you've come down here and formed another low points, which be allowing you to draw a new neckline off of that. Whether it slopes up or down, we won't know until it happens. And then you'll get a bounce, and that will just be another shoulder formation here, finding resistance at roughly the 50-period moving average at that point in time, and then rolling over to form yet another head and shoulders pattern. Only this one would be a much larger one. You take the high point from the head down to the neckline, take that distance mathematically, subtract it from the close of the breakout, or the breakdown of the neckline, and that tells you how far you're going to fall again. So you've just got a massive developing here head and shoulders topping pattern, and that's something that I really want to be watching right now. The Russell 2000 Small Cap Index is the same basic overall story as far as the larger term picture. You can see this formation here, setting up for another head and shoulders type scenario. You're starting to find resistance at where today's activity, about the 935 level. That's about where you saw the previous peak of the previous shoulder. So this level right here is very important to us. We're watching this very closely. The main thing here is if we do roll over, like we're expecting to, then you're forming a very massive head and shoulders pattern. We'll start to consider this the upslope here, and we'll actually use this like that, and then measure this distance down. Say, all right, we're going to subtract this level here, or actually you should use this line here as the highest point. You should actually subtract that from the breakdown of the neckline. You can actually say, all right, we're going to take out this low here, which just confirms the downtrend. Another thing to point out here, if you were to, and you'll see it on our chart, but it's still kind of vague right now, but if you actually look real close, you can see this high point here and this high point here. Any more movement up to the upside here would put this one higher than this one. So you would have this little line up here, and then you would have maybe some price at here or something of that nature. However, you would have this high point here, and that high close there would be sloping down. Same time period, you would have this sloping up. That again forms the, actually I should use this one here, but either way it is the same thing. Basically that just forms a reversal signal telling you to look for another pullback here, not a breakout rally to the upside. So again, there's nothing here that tells me to go buy this chart. Also on top of that, let's say we come out here and we totally break out at this high point. Alright, let's move up here and we do that. You're not going to take out this high point here on the ultimate oscillator. You're just going to be forming, again, another massive bearish divergence telling you to look for a crash again. So there's nothing here that tells me to buy it. Looking now at the EMW, the Wilshire 4500, and this particular chart is basically it's the same overall pattern that you've seen develop on European markets last weekend, and we went short on that scenario. In this case here, you've just made a small bounce here, and you're showing weakness at this small bounce here. This is something that you should be concerned with because of the overall pattern. If it's changing, which the long-term chart indicates that it is, the short-term chart would be looking for confirmation of that, start to develop a short-term trend in the same direction as the longer-term chart, showing you that a breakdown of the uptrend is developing. So we would look at this high point here, this higher high here, this low point here, and this lower low here, and we say, okay, well, we have conflicting signals. Either we're going to break to the downside or reverse and find support and then start to develop a new uptrend. Right now, we're not seeing that. Right now, we're just seeing they're starting to get a breakdown here. If you come up here and fail to take out the previous high, you will confirm the breakdown. You will have a lower series of highs at that point from there to there. This would be telling you, look for the downtrend to develop, and that's exactly what we're looking for. A very simple method here, but it actually very effective. So be looking for this to peak out relatively soon, and that's why my stops are way up here, saying if you take us out, then maybe I'll give you some room to set up again. But right now, we have no reason to be bullish this chart. Let me clean that up. One last item to show you on the EMW here. You can see this high close here, and right now we see this lower close here. We could even bounce a couple more days and still maintain that. But you can see at the same time period, you've got this low close here and this higher close here on the ultimate oscillator. So we're trending up here and then down here. Again, a negative reversal here. This is one of 4 different types of bearish divergences. This tells you to look for another pullback, another move to the downside here. So you're already getting signals on the momentum that you're looking for another pullback, another down move here. And if you do that before taking out the previous high, then you've just conformed a downtrend. And that's important because a lot of people right now, they're out there who are long, and that means they're going to have to start adjusting that, and that's going to add some pressure, so forth and so on. Okay. If you've not been to the free website at perfectstockalert.com, it's right there. It's 100% free, and all we ask in return, please refer a friend. Also, anything that you didn't understand in this video series, whether it be the divergences of the ultimate oscillator from the price, you can find that on our free website. Let me show you that right quick. Here on the free website, if you go into the technical section, and we have both technical and fundamental tutorial video series here, libraries of videos, you can click here and you can find the divergence sections. There are all 4 divergences, and you can figure out what they all mean, how to spot them, how to use them, so forth and so on. Okay? God bless, take care, see you in the next one. Please take a moment to review our disclaimer. The information provided herein is our opinion only. Under no circumstances do any statements here represent a recommendation to buy or sell securities or make any kind of an investment. You are responsible for your own due diligence. To summarize, we do not provide investment advice, nor do we make any claims or promises that any information here will lead to a profit, loss, or any other result. These videos are for educational purposes only.